All right, I'm back. I launched my 200th episode of the Ave Podcast, about 2 weeks ago. I felt good about it. And then you see what had happened was, right? Like literally the next day, I got the flu pretty bad and it crashed me out. And if that wasn't enough, I damn near got laryngitis at the same time. It was good ass times. So, I decided to take off some time and just recover. And in the process, I missed talking about, some playoff basketball, some good playoff basketball. We missed out on Ja getting injured and completely changing that Golden State series. I didn't get a chance to talk about Giannis. And, I'm a big fan of his. I'm going to miss watching him the rest of the playoffs. I wasn't done watching him hoop yet. And in that time, Kendrick drops one of the craziest videos and songs that I've seen in a long time, as well as his album, which is pretty fire, by the way. So today, on the Ave Podcast, I won't be talking about Kendrick's album, about him, high-stepping with morals. Not yet anyway, but I'm going to be joined by O'Neal Kamaka, the co-founder of the Skills Refinement Group and head coach of UPLAY Canada AAU Program, as well as Randall Walters, CEO of Team Lightskin, the head coach of Team XL Hoops Prep Basketball Program, as well as the head coach of Red Rouge's AAU team, and, of course, South Shore family member. Man, all the monikers, damn. Because, the first two rounds have been entertaining, and I wanted to do an update at this point right now. And damn it, that's what we're going to do. We're going to discuss the Phoenix flameout, where Ayton may go. Shh, hint, it's not in America. Our most disappointing teams and players in the playoffs, as well as our favorite teams and players. We predict the winners of each conference final. We talk about the Grizzlies' future of ring collecting within the next couple of years. We get into a ton of topics, all right? So kick back. It's Friday. It's long weekend for all of you Canadians listening. And these last two playoff games have been blowouts. You really want to dissect those? That's what I thought. South Shore Ave is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Hit that like button, the favorite button. And you know what I'm going to say about those star ratings, right? Not 1, not 2, not 3. I need them 5 stars. I need the 5. I need the 5. So click on it like right now while I'm talking to you. See how easy that was? And check out SouthShoreAve.com for the catalog. One more time for the emphasis. That's SouthShoreAve.com. And I have a new episode of My Story featuring Cheyenne Rowe, which will be out on Wednesday. I'm going to get into that a little bit more at the end of the show, but make sure you look out for that episode when it drops. All right? I appreciate you already. Look at God, huh? Look at God. It's the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio. Health is wealth. That cliche is not a lie. It ain't. Health is wealth. Amen.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast off my mini hiatus. Let me just start off with the first question with you guys right now. What fight do you want to see the most? Pat Bev versus CP3 or Lil Wayne versus Mark Cuban?
Man,
that's a good one.
It's a good one. But I'm more into basketball. I don't care about the semantics on the sidelines.
You don't care about rapper owner beef?
Nah, man. Come on. Yeah. I think Lil Wayne's too high. He's too high to smack anybody.
I don't think it'll be fair. I think Mark Cuban knows like some stuff. I think he knows like some kind of martial arts. I don't think it'll be fair. I would go with Pat Bev and CP3.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Pat Bev is just
this guy's going in on ESPN this week, man.
It makes for great television.
Yeah, he's definitely marking his name as somebody to watch out for when he retires, which is probably going to be within the next couple of years. But you can see just from this week, you're like, yeah, he's definitely going to be on either ESPN or Fox.
Well, he's keeping it like that. This is what you want. You want controversial guys, right?
Yeah.
People are going to love him, or people are going to hate him, but they're going to tune in. So this is exactly what you want.
Like Draymond.
So, exactly. People who speak their mind, right? That's exactly what you want. You don't want, you got to speak your mind, and that's what you want. You want people who are going to speak their mind, and so Pat Beverly speaks his mind. I like it. I hear the criticism. I agree. I also agree. Like you're Pat Bev. It's like, bro, you haven't done anything, right? And so CP3 has accomplished way more than you have, And you're going after CP3 when he's like 37 after being in the league for almost 20 years. So, you know, like you forget that the guy's a night, you know, saying that doesn't play defense. Like maybe right now because he's old, but he's made total nine all defensive teams, right? So, you know, steal titles and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, he lit you up last year and eliminated you.
You pushed him in his back.
You pushed him in his back. And give you a little look. So I don't know, but I like it. I like it. It makes for good television. I like somebody that keeps it real.
No, he's a character though because he's the same one. Like 3 weeks ago was crying after they beat the Clippers in the play-in game. So it's kind of hilarious to watch like how he's going at it. I feel like he's about I don't know if he's on for the rest of the week, but I feel like he's gonna say something really reckless to Brian Windhorst. I feel like that's coming. They've been kind of going a little back and forth, and I'm like, he's gonna say something. I know he's gonna say something reckless, and I feel it's gonna be to him.
It's good television, man. They ain't putting them on to be politically correct.
No, of course not.
Exactly.
But the thing is, most players when they come on for that time, they usually are. But especially ones that are still playing. So that's why I find it hilarious that like he just doesn't give a shit. You know he's going to next year.
But I like it though because he's calling like a lot of people. They're careful when they're on TV, right? They try to be diplomatic and stuff like that. I like him going after Windhorst because he's probably like, "What do you really know about this game?" Right? Because I know Windhorst made this thing about following LeBron, right? He was writing all these nice articles and stuff about LeBron.
His entire career, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how he got made, right? So so I like the fact that Fat Ben's going after him. Like, do you really know your stuff, right? Or is it you got made because of LeBron because you're following LeBron, right? And you're in LeBron's atmosphere and you're reaping some of the benefits from it. So he's calling up. He's forcing these guys to like stop being diplomatic and towing the line and just like say what you really feel. So I like it.
Yeah, I find it hilarious. Just to break this down, obviously, like for me personally, I've been sick the last couple of weeks. So I haven't been able to do a show, so there's a lot of quick topics that I want to get into. So, this playoffs to me has been, I would say, good to really good so far. Obviously, there's a ton of topics to go over through right now. Who's been your favorite player of the playoffs so far, or favorite, and as well as your favorite team? And I'll start with you, O'Neal, because there's quite a few for me, but I want to hear your thoughts on it, though.
You know what? I like the way Boston is playing. I really do. I like the way Tatum's playing. You can see that he's figuring it out. You see that he's learning to trust and make the extra pass, not try to ISO so much.
Yeah.
There's still occasions that he's doing it, but you can see that he is learning and he is trying to figure it out. But I like the way Boston's playing. I really do. I like the way Tatum's playing. I like the way, and I think as a coach, you can tell Ime just trying to just share the ball because he's from the Popovich coaching tree,
right? And
he's trying to have them do what the Spurs is doing right now, right? Which is, keep the ball moving, 0.5 summertime, and play defense, play good defense. But keep the ball moving on offense, not a lot of ISO, right? And then there'll be times to do it, but just ball moving and get the defense working, right? And so you see when they buy into that, it's successful, and it's at every level. When you move the ball, and you get good shots, right? It's and you play defense, it's successful. So I like Tatum the way he's playing, and I like Boston.
Okay, and who's your favorite player so far in the playoffs?
I just said Tatum. You didn't hear me? Tatum.
Oh, you said Tatum. I'm sorry, because I thought you were saying favorite team. My bad. Shit.
Jesus. Tatum and in the Celtics. Going back.
You want a hug before I go over to Randall? You want to?
No, go ahead.
What about you?
No, I got two, but really, so right now, I really like what Jimmy Butler has been doing.
Yeah.
I think he's Jimmy's calling card's always been scoring, but I think on this team he's helped catapult the Heat to another level, like a championship level right now. I think that, they have I like what O'Neal said. I think Boston is going to be a great series. I think, barring injuries, I think Miami has that kind of deeper roster to go further. But if, all it takes is one injury for Boston to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jimmy is ultimately, every team has that one guy that just gets you buckets. In the playoffs, that's what you need, a bucket getter, and he's been an ultimate one. But the guy that's impressed me the most and been the most enjoyable to watch, and just all season, but to see him in the light that we got to see him in was Morant. To me, again, barring injuries, but he's just blossoming into, we always thought he was a star, but he's becoming a certified superstar. And, I think this team is one or two pieces away from being perennial contenders, right? I don't think it was a flash in the pan that they made it that far, and I think they got.
I don't even know if they're one or two pieces away. I think they're here.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they need. Even though they sustained without Morant, I think they need a real number two, and maybe one of them develops into one. But you saw at times, even though he was going off and carrying, there were times that they needed someone else to take some of that burden off his shoulders. Every team has more than, has that certified number two, and I'm not sure they have that yet. That's one. And two is, I think they can upgrade on Steven Adams.
Yeah. Excuse me. At this stage, I mean, we're big men are at this point now. I don't think you really necessarily have to. I mean, he's not going to play a lot of minutes, especially if they meet on teams that's going to be playing small ball. Like we're all doing this pod while we're watching the first game of the Warriors and the Mavericks, and this is like small ball mania right now, right? So in a series like this, Steven Adams ain't going to play, right? He's going to be used for those bigger centers and those bigger boys that are scoring, but it's funny, it's great selections. Excuse me. I kind of feel like Memphis, the only thing that's going to mess up Memphis right now, and I have a question on Memphis a little later, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they kind of have their stuff there already. It's just experience is what's going to take them through. It kind of sucked, and, Ja's a good selection because it sucked that he got hurt, because that series between them and Golden State was, I'm not lying to you guys, I've been waiting to watch that series for the last 3 months. I've been talking about Memphis basically all year, and I'm like, man, when they meet Golden State in the playoffs, it's going to be insane. So to have it get short circuited by his injury, it to me, it kind of took the life out of the series for me. You know what I mean? Once he got hurt, because essentially Golden State was going to win that. But to me, if he was there, it was more of a toss up. But my favorite player so far, you mentioned him earlier, is Jimmy Butler, because before the playoffs, I kept saying, I don't really believe in the Heat because I don't think Jimmy can keep up scoring-wise with, the superstars, because there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have to match up with Embiid's 30-something points. You're going to have to match up with Giannis's humongous numbers, even with Tatum as well, and Jaylen Brown. And I'm not sure if Jimmy can do that over the course of a whole series, but, he substantially raised his numbers in the playoffs. Right now, he's averaging 29, almost 30 a game in the playoffs so far, with 7, almost 8 rebounds, 5 assists. His shooting splits are really good. The way he's raised his numbers, it kind of reminds me of Reggie Miller. How Reggie Miller's regular season numbers they're always good. It wasn't great, but in the playoffs, any superstar that could jump at least 4 or 5 points, it's usually that's usually the ranking for a superstar. You know what I mean? If you could jump 3, 4, 5 points consistently every playoffs from your regular season numbers, no matter where your regular season number are. That to me is that's aligns yourself with a superstar, and I've never thought Jimmy would be that. There's 2 more rounds to go, so let's see what happens here. But so far he's been shutting me up because he's had multiple 40-point games, multiple 30 high 30-point games. He's been amazing. My favorite team is they've been my dark horse as well for the last couple of months, which is the Celtics. I was amazed at how they made KD look old. Not old, but a little aged. You know what I mean? KD was before the playoffs, you rarely ever saw somebody block KD's shot. And every game, Tatum at least got a shot at least once, if not multiple times. Like, it was just crazy to see that. And then also how they slugged it out with Boston. I mean, that Middleton injury changed everything, but at the same time, like, the way they had to withstand Giannis's body blows and still made it out, I thought was amazing for them as well. Like, they've been really good the last. Well, actually, I think they've had the best record in the NBA the last, since January 31st. So
yeah, but why do you call them a dark horse? They're not no dark horse.
Well,
they've been perennial at least contenders in the East. Like, in the last 5 years, they probably have one of the best playoff runs.
Okay,
they've been in the conference finals.
But what I'm saying is, though, for me personally, for how they started off the season, basically from Jan, I've been saying, like, and I think I swear I think I did a podcast with you, with O'Neal, when we were talking about dark horse, and I think me and you both had Dallas and Boston, I believe. But I was saying Boston, right? Because I was saying at that point, I'm like, yo, Boston to me was like, that's the team that's like, they're starting to get it together, and I'm like, I think they're gonna do damage in the playoffs.
I don't say no. They ain't no dark horse, guys. Come on, man. They were going to make the playoffs. It just depended on where they were going to fall. And once they made the playoffs, we all know that they had the intangible pieces to go far in the playoffs. Look at the East, how it's laid out. Of course, Boston was going to in the top four.
Okay, but dark horse meaning like this is a team that you don't. It's not 100% sure they can make the finals. Like, to me, that's a dark horse. I don't think going into, like, okay, so you're telling me right now by in January when the year started, like 2022 started, you thought they were going to make the finals?
Yeah, but it's the beginning of the year. See, like I think I had them in the top. If we went back and looked at what I had put them at, every year I have Boston in the top four in the East. They're top 4 or 5, even though they started off bad.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They were struggling with a new head coach. People were like, he was cussing them out. He still cusses them out.
Yeah.
He coaches, like, people.
He coaches them hard.
He's
Popovich. He's coaching them the way Popovich coaches he has Popovich's demeanor, right? Popovich is his idol, so he's coaching them. That's how Popovich coaches his players. He coaches everybody tough.
O'Neal, he giving you the Africa. He giving you the African power. You know what I mean? He coming at you, giving you that backhand. You know what I mean? Come on, man. He got to give you that. You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I'm just saying they were struggling, right? Because they had to adjust to. He was holding people accountable.
For sure.
He was cussing people out, and they were struggling, right? And that's why people were like, "What's going on with the Boston Celtics?" I listen to Bill Simmons. I'm a big Bill Simmons fan. I listen to him, and he's a big Celtics fan. Mm-hmm. And he would talk about, as a Celtics fan, they were worried. They're like, "Oh, we're going to fire this guy? Is this team going to fall apart?" Mm-hmm. Just because the way they started off.
Right.
And I think that's where the dark horse coming, because, I think going in, you look at teams that did well last year, what they have coming back and adding pieces or whatever. Like, sure, but then as the season goes along, then people are like, okay, well, look where Boston was, and they start changing their predictions and stuff like that. So I think that's what Calvin's talking about. But at the same time,
plus on top of that, O'Neal, like last year they were the 7th seed, so it wasn't like they were just knocking people out left and right, and then they struggled this year. You know what I mean? Like they were struggling even last year as two. You know what I mean? So this, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Tatum and Brown are like they're young enough that like you don't worry about the future too tough. But again, how many shows, how many like pods, how many different things that you hear about? They should split up Brown and Tatum. Like, how much times did you hear that? I was the one that was like, there's no way I'm breaking that up. I don't care if they're struggling, right? So this is where the dark horse perspective comes from me. You know what I mean? So speaking for myself, you know what I mean? To circle back, like they've been playing really well, man. Like it's like I still think they're gonna make the finals. You know what I mean? Like at this stage, but it's amazing how they just stepped up in the playoffs. Like I'm really impressed by that. Even though again their defense was one of the top. I think they were top 5 basically, actually the whole year. But like they were basically the top defensive team in the NBA. I think as of January 31st. So it's a testament to their work, man. Like that's why I thought Udoka was the coach of the year to me. I'm not mad that Monty got it, but like the job that he did, it's hats off to him, man. He's been amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
I love what they did bringing Al Horford back. Like I think that was offloading. Even though Kemba's my guy, offloading Kemba was probably the best thing they did. And bringing Al back was just fundamental to like their success, especially during these playoff runs. So
veteran glue guy, and you need them. Like,
yeah,
I always thought like when he left Boston, I thought it was a mistake. I understood why he left because he got way more money, and Boston didn't want to pay it. Now they're paying it, which is the funny thing. But sometimes certain guys when they put on the uniform, it's like they come back to being like the player who they needed to be. And like, you put him on not Dallas, but a Boston uniform. It's like he went right back to being who he was before he left. Yeah. It's impressive, especially how he went toe to toe with Giannis in certain points, not the whole series, but certain points. Like I thought it was impressive. Who has been your most disappointing team and player in the playoffs so far, Randall?
That ain't hard.
I think we all know what's Harden.
well, Harden for sure in the Nets. I mean, need to say more. Like, I what a catastrophe! Like, what all that drama throughout the season with them. You had the Kyrie episode. You had Ben Simmons coming over and trading Harden. Issues with Nash. Just with everything they've tried to do, and we all talk about super teams and buying a championship and all that. They tried so hard to do all types of moves, and it just backfired. Just disappointing. Because I had them going far. I don't know if I ever thought they were going to win a championship, but I thought they'd at least make it to the
conference final at least.
To this conference final. No, I mean not even conference. Yeah, conference finals. Yeah. I thought they would get at least to this point, but
I'll be honest, Randall. This is why I hated that Harden trade last year. Yeah, I hated it because I thought, especially before KD and Kyrie got there, I thought like the team that one of my favorite teams to watch. Not like I was, in terms of the development, what they were building, how they're building the culture for the last 2 years before they got those two guys. Was Brooklyn, because I love just what they were building. They started everything from scratch. They drafted the right guys. They made the right trades. They got the right coaching. Everything was, and then they attracted two superstars to come there. So I'm like, you got these two guys now. It's perfect because you got LeVert, you got Dinwiddie, you got Jared Allen, you got all these guys that are there surrounding you. I'm like, this is perfect. So when they went and did the Harden trade, I was pissed off. I was like, they don't need to do this. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to do any of this. And now it's kind of like, because of injuries and, God knows everything else that happened in the season, it backfired on them. But I hated that trade because I thought it's like you basically tore out the culture you were building the last few years to try to do the superstar stuff. And now you got Ben Simmons and, it's, again, you don't depend on the scoring, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of question marks now, especially, mentally in terms of who he's going to be now. You know what I mean? And Kyrie's contract, he has a player option after, I think he's most likely to pick up his option this year, but, you got to look to re-sign him, or what do you do with him? Do you sign him back? You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of turmoil, and you got so much money invested in like a Ben Simmons. He's owed $112 million over the next 3 years. And he hasn't really he hasn't done anything in more than 12 months. Excuse me, but so I don't know. But who's your most disappointing team? And I should say team because I think we all have Harden. But who's your most disappointing team, Monil? Brooklyn as well. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I would like to make it unanimous. I gotta say Phoenix, man. I hated how I hated how they ended that series. And honestly, I understood that they struggled to beat the Pelicans because of obviously the injury with Booker. So I'm not even counting that. That series they should have won against Dallas. They should have won that in 5. But I thought they were acting like they were too above Dallas after Game 5, and the Mavericks, they turned that switch on and they just short circuited Phoenix after that. Like it wasn't even a game those last 2 games. I think they failed Monty Williams. Like, you know, I think he deserved better than that. I refuse to blame. I can't. You know, sometimes they say it's coaching. I refuse to blame Monty for that. That was a total flameout for those last 2 games, and for a team that was realistically the regular season, they're the best team in the league. They looked like they had a chip on their shoulder all year, waiting to get back to the finals. They kind of reminded me of like the Spurs in 2014 after they lost to the Heat the year before, and they were just coming for everybody's throat. Like, that's what they're kind of reminding me of. So those last 2 games, I'm like, what the hell happened? I thought that was utterly disgusting. And honestly, Brooklyn's a good pick, but to me, I'm like, I hated. There's no excuse for that flame out, man.
No. I think there's more than meets the eye.
I'm sure there is something that when you see something like that happens, things were happening. Like, you don't do what Phoenix did throughout the whole entire season through the playoffs, and then all of a sudden these last 2 games, that happens, right? Something's going on.
Yeah.
Now Monty Williams is, this guy's like, this very calm. He's like he's a Tony Dungy.
That's a good analogy.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Of NBA, right? And for him and for Ayton to confront Monty like that, stuff is going on, and CP they just as a group looked bad and lackluster. So something's going on, but I don't know. For me, I think it's just because it was the last game. I see why you picked it, Calvin, but you can't.
The last two games. But go on.
Yeah, the last 2 games. But Brooklyn getting swept.
I know.
Like, forget winning, but they got swept.
They got swept,
bro. They got swept. They're like, they didn't win a game. They got swept. So,
at least to their credit, excuse me. At least to their credit, I think the total score between Brooklyn and Boston was 16 points total. Right, so I mean, those games are pretty close. Except other than game 2, those games are pretty close all the way through. But Brooklyn, Boston basically had a hand on their throat anytime they wanted. You're right in that aspect. It was crazy to watch them get swept. But like I said, the Harden thing is funny. Like, we don't even have to discuss it. We're all for one for all for that one. That's hilarious.
But I guess for me, like, what I do is I just watch people how they move, right? Actions, like, if you really watch people and their behavior, you can get an idea of who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with James Harden, he established from day one. What I really saw was when they lost in the 2012 NBA Finals to
when he was on OKC?
Yeah, to the Miami Heat. And and then you kind of watch him and see what he's about. And, he was that guy that was just more about, I don't know if it was J.J. Redick, actually, when I said this, but there's guys in the NBA who are there just for the lifestyle, the money and the lifestyle, right? They're not there for winning chips.
Lord knows you've seen those players come through this city.
Exactly. So, exactly. We had Vince Carter. And Harden.
Vince Carter.
And Harden's no different. He's an entertainer. He's getting paid. The money he's getting paid is for regular season to entertain. And then when it comes to playoff time, he's a no-show, and you're not gonna get anything from him. So, that's what's disappointing to him. And if people want to max this guy out and give him all this money, so he can go. He doesn't care. He's making his money. He's good. He's hitting up strip clubs, partying, and enjoying the lifestyle. So, it's very disappointing. You can see it. He's not built. He's not built as a winner. He's not built like Giannis. He's not built like Embiid or Luka or Booker. He's not built like some of these guys who want to win. Even CP3. He's not built like that. Right? His mentality's not that. His mentality's like, I'm gifted at this. I'm really good at scoring. I can entertain. I figure this. A lot of
was good at scoring. was
right.
Tense.
And a lot of people, if you entertain during the regular season, if you figure this out, like during the regular season, I'm going to entertain. That's when they get paid, right? And but the guys who understand about their legacy and being the greatest and ever, want to win. So That's not Harden, right? That's not Harden.
You know what? I know you're throwing it back to OKC days, or at least his last season, or at least that finals anyway. But I don't know if I'd go that far. But I guess I'll respond back to you with a question. Do you think him being in Houston? I know he achieved all these records, all the accolades, made a ton of money. But do you feel like that Houston Rockets situation spoiled him? Because I feel like it kind of did.
Of course. Daryl Morey was like, you can do whatever you want. And he's there.
Like literally. Literally, whatever you want.
He did whatever he wanted. So, yeah, he got spoiled, and that's where he's at right now. You know, he's like, you need to cater to me. I want things my way. Right? This guy's going to get to Philly. Now they're going to get rid of Doc Rivers, right? And bring in his guy, what's his name again? D'Antoni.
Which would
right?
be a
Murray's
disaster. That would be a disaster. But
right, and so now what's going to happen with Joel Embiid? So now there's going to be this thing with Joel Embiid now, right? Because Daryl Morey doesn't like big centers who clog up the key. I mean, D'Antoni don't like big centers who clog up the key.
No, he wants them to run the floor and kind of that.
Yeah,
running gun style. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Embiid might like D'Antoni. Let's shoot the three a lot.
But at the same time,
ruin his game.
Yeah, at the same time, you're hearing D'Antoni's the lead runner for the Hornets job, so he may not even be in play anyway. So,
right.
which I hope, honestly, because of that, I hope he gets the job. I love Embiid. I don't want Embiid to change right now, so I hope he gets that job. I hope he works with Jordan. You know,
yeah.
But
do you think Doc can take this team to the next level?
Oh hell no!
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not arguing.
Ubuntu.
I'm not.
Ubuntu.
You're wrong for that. You know, it's funny though, because I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm like Dave Chappelle on the Chappelle Show, where he supports the black actors on the Wayne Brady episode. I'm the same way when it comes to black coaches. I support my black coaches, but I got to stay on the fence with Rivers, man. I got to do it. Man, because every year, you know what it's gonna be, man. Like it's unfortunate, and I mean, and it's sad because Game 5, you know, when he's sitting there, you know, during the timeout, basically begging his players just to play with effort. You're just like, man, how many years, Doc? I hope this is Doc's last coaching job. Like after this, like just you got your ring, you've made your money. You've made the top 75 list. Just shut it down. Like after this experience, just shut it down. Go spend time with the family.
Who made top 75?
He made top 70. Not top 75. Sorry, top 15 coaches. I meant top 15 coaches.
Rivers?
Yes.
Why?
You're asking me like I made the list. I don't know. He's on the top 15 coaches list of all time. I questioned it too. Trust me, I questioned it too.
He lucked out with Dallas. He lucked out, with Boston.
With
Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. He was just a perfect storm with those guys, and he never wanted to get with he only had one chip with these guys.
I know.
Yeah.
And
if he was that great, he would have had more.
And I said this, a few podcasts back, like, yo, they won that championship, but they played almost the maximum amount of games you could play.
Exactly.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
They played 26 games that year in the playoffs. They played 26 playoff games. Every series they played went at least 6. The first 2 rounds went 7.
Calvin, anything is possible.
The first three rounds were 7.
Yeah, first 3 rounds were 7. Yeah, they slipped by.
Atlanta finished 8, and Atlanta took them 7 games, and people were like, "What's going on?" And then I remember that specifically. Every round went 7 until they got the Lakers, and then
it went 6.
They shut Kobe.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was nuts. But here's the thing I just want to add about Harden, though. Like, yo, I think just to add to our points, though, like I think he's beginning to change the way he's going to be remembered, because the last 2 seasons, the way he's treated his offseason, basically quitting on 2 teams in 2 years while he's still in his prime, he's flicked that on and off switch so much that I think he shorted the fuse. You know what I mean? And with that said, it's funny to say, and maybe it's because of the immense amount of pressure, I think he may have a bounce back year, because between everybody shitting on him, the Philly media and the fans, plus he's up for a Supermax, it's a lot of motivation to bounce back. But I think it's crazy that we're even having this conversation, that he has to kind of save his name or even be in that position. To me, it's nuts. I think it's crazy.
What about Westbrook? He was in the same position. It's that curse of OKC, man.
Maybe so at this point. I don't know. And you know what? I guess this will lead to my next question. Do you think him and Joel can coexist long term?
No.
I think a lot of us thought, like, after that trade, it was like, what could Philly do with Ben Simmons, right? What are you going to get in return? And they wanted a certain caliber of player. He is in that conversation of caliber of player, but he's not the right fit. But they had to pull the trigger. They had to get Simmons out of there. So it's not the worst pairing. It's just not the best, in my opinion.
I would trade for like Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine or somebody like that. Like James Harden, guys that actually want to win. Like James Harden doesn't want to, or would care about winning. James Harden doesn't want to. He doesn't care about winning, bro. At this point in his career, again, James Harden just want to make money, party. You know, he's not really taking care of his body. That's why he's breaking down, right? So he doesn't care about winning.
So
you could.
I was gonna say, so you're saying he doesn't want the Larry O.B. He wants to hang with little baby.
That's it. That's all he cares about.
But you guys don't think that Embiid? You don't think that Embiid, like, hit the way that he's kind of his demeanor is now, and he's maturing into, like, you know, this kind of leader on the team. You don't think that he's gonna kind of call him out and be like, look, like, we need more?
I think he kind of did in the last press conference.
Exactly.
He did.
Right, but I know,
did.
but I'm saying, like, you don't think that's gonna have an effect on him?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I you know what? Again, I think game wise, I think they definitely can coexist. I just think mindset. It depends on where Harden is going to be, and it's a good question you're asking. It's a good question you're asking, Randall, because I think at this stage he understands. Again, Embiid is Philly. He's the number 2 option, and again, you're not expecting him. You don't need it. You don't even need him to average like 30 or anything like that. Like he's back in Houston, but at this stage in his career, to what O'Neal was saying, like at this stage, you know, what is he, 32 years old? This is the time of your career right now where you want to extend it, where this is where you start taking care of your body. This is where you start, you know, try to sleep your 8 hours, get your naps before your games. Like it's funny because there was you know, about 10, 15 years ago, you had Allen Iverson basically do the same thing in Philly, right? Well, not so much in Philly, but by the time he came back to Philly, like, I thought Iverson, when he retired, I thought Iverson could have played easily another 5 years, just coming off the bench and taking care of his body. You know what I mean? But the whole and Randall, I know you know the Philly stories. You know the Philly stories of AI, right? Like AI basically never took care of himself, and it kind of you know, he was a freak, but it caught up with him, right? And it caught up with him hard, right?
Yeah.
And that's where Harden is kind of going right now. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he has to go vegan and all that stuff, but like less club life, you know, less hanging with little baby, more sleep. Like he's 32 years old. He's got a lot. I don't care how much wear and tear he has on his body. He shouldn't be losing a step and a half within like less than 2 years. Like, to me, that's crazy. You know what I mean? But like and the thing is, it's crazy because I'm like, I feel like they kind of have to keep him because they gave up so much to acquire him. But like, if he does leave at this point, he's gonna be like the elite journeyman, like Westbrook is right now.
Yeah.
You know,
I think one of the key things is also trading. What's his name? I don't think he fits well on the team. Oh, my mind just blanked. The small forward.
For who? Sorry, the small
for
forward?
Philly.
Oh, Harris.
I think Tobias Harris. I think they need to. I don't think he fits what they need to do. You know, I think they need to. You know, and I like the pieces they have coming up. Like, I like Maxey. Thibault. I think those are good pieces, you know, but I think they need something else. What it is, I don't know. More shooting, you know.
No, I was going to say they got to teach Embiid how to land properly, because how he took out Danny Green, like, Danny Green's career might be done at this point. Like,
it's all good.
Well, I think I missed that.
You missed when he fell on Danny Green?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just heard that Danny Green has a torn ACL.
He basically tore
That's
everything in his
Embiid.
knee, but basically Embiid did one of his layups when he went flying all over the place and landed like
Yeah,
he basically
flopped.
he flopped and basically destroyed Danny Green. Just go on YouTube and look it up. He basically destroyed Danny Green's
wow.
knee.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And
Danny Green was basically done anyway.
Right, but his contract next year is non-guaranteed, so
Embiid owes him, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Basically.
Yeah. That hurts.
Basically.
I didn't know that part. That's a yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Going back to Ayton for a second though, you guys think he's going to be in a Suns uniform by the start of training camp next year?
No.
You think he's
Whoa.
Raptors should make a move for him.
Money talks, bullshit walks. If they offer him a max, he's staying.
They're not though. They would have offered him already. They're not going to give it to him.
You know what I mean? Well, if they don't want to give it to him, someone else is going to give him more money. Yeah, but
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I never. Yeah.
Sorry, O'Neal, who did you say should offer him money?
Raptors.
Okay, so we're on the same page.
I would go after him. He's a young kid. From all intentions, he's a good kid. He's trying to get better every year. Obviously, he's probably frustrated with with the blow up, but if you watch it, he's getting better every year. He wants to be good. He'd be perfect. He'd be perfect for the Raptors.
So what do you give up for him, O'Neal?
Well,
would I give up? Spin Cycle Siakam, Achua, and
I'd give up OG and Achua.
I don't think you need to get. I don't think you need to give up that much. I would give up.
You give up OG or Achua, that loose ball that doesn't know how to take it. This guy's no feel for the game. Every time the ball touches his hand, he jacks it up, and that's what you want to give up. You want to keep him and give up OG who plays defense.
No.
Better scorer.
I would say that Siakam. I think his contract would match. That would be the only give up you would need to give. I would think. You don't need to give up more than that.
I think money wise. Excuse me. I think money wise. I think you're right. I think in that sense it would work. But OG's got the team friendly contract though, right? He's only making what is he making 18? I'm saying it like I'm making 19, but he's making 18 bill. You if you can move a couple of pieces for it, because I don't know if they still do sign and trades as the way they used to in the league. I think they do, but it's kind of like a modified version of it. But I don't know what the Raptors. I don't think they're not under the cap to they definitely would have to make a move or two because they're not under the cap to just sign them outright. But I think
do you sign as a Van Vliet, right? Would you give him an extension?
I mean, he already signed. He's good money for the next 3 years at least.
Is it? No, I thought.
No, he's not a upcoming free agent.
Oh, not free agent. I thought he had his max extension coming up.
No, it's not because remember he signed. When did he sign before they went to Tampa or was it this year? Oh no, it was before they went to Tampa. It was before they went to So the year they went to Tampa. So I think he signed a 4-year deal. So he's got at least 2 more years left on that. It's I don't know. I think right now, I feel like with Ayton, I've been watching for some reason. I was watching Phoenix a lot in those years when they were trash, and to his credit, he's kept quiet pretty much all year about his contract. I don't think his talent has been truly valued, and I'm not saying he's this superstar in winning, but he's not Rudy Gobert either offensively. You know what I mean?
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like O'Neal, to me, I thought they basically. Until Chris Paul got there, I thought he was wasting away in Phoenix. They never remember they never had a point guard. Remember that was a running joke for years. They never had a point guard. They were trying to make Booker a point guard, and Booker's trying to be on his Kobe, and he was trying to get his numbers. So I used to watch games with Phoenix where Ayton wouldn't touch the ball for a whole quarter. And it didn't matter if he was doing 20 and 10. There would be the fourth quarter. It's he wouldn't even touch the ball. And I'm like, what is going on with these guys? He's your number one pick. Why is this guy not getting the ball? Until Chris Paul got there. And even when Chris Paul is there, he's kind of almost not a 3-and-D, but he's they kind of treat him like that, almost a better version of a Clint Capella on that roster. I think his talent he's got more talent than that. But in terms of the Raptors, it would be great if he can come here. Like he fits right into the culture. He's 24 years old. He fits right into the age culture side of it. But I think Phoenix would be insane to let him walk, though, because I think it decimates their team. You can't replace somebody at that heightened age, his heightened talent at that age. To me, unless somebody signs him with a crazy contract, I think they have to kind of sign him back. With Memphis losing in the playoffs, they've essentially opened up their championship window. Do you guys think they're going to get a ring within the next 2 years?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Why though? Why do you think that's like an impossibility?
I still think there's teams out there that are more established, more seasoned. It's just
Exactly.
I think that again. I hear what you're saying. See that they're getting better, and next year you think they're right there. I still think they're still that step behind, right? I think that they'll compete. They might even make a finals in the next 2 years, but I don't know if I see them winning it. I wouldn't put my money on it. Put it that way.
Yeah. Ja's not going to last. Just because you've seen players like him before. And I mentioned it to you, Calvin, before. It's like, watch every year Ja. Now, obviously, he had the bone bruise in the playoffs, but even if that never happened, I guarantee you during the offseason, you would have heard that Ja had minor surgery on his knee. Every year is minor surgery. The wear and tear on his knee, the way he's explosive, he's not going to last. And guys like Bane and Dylan Brooks, those guys are great, but you're not winning. You need another guy. And so,
you don't think Bane? You don't think Bane could be that like Bealish type of scorer, even though he's got Kevin Willis's arms?
Exactly. No.
You think his arms are too short to box with the gods?
Too much.
Oh man.
I think they'll be competitive. They're young. They play hard, and when you play hard, you always give yourself a chance. They're like the Raptors of the West.
Oh, I don't.
They are. They're gonna be that team that competes that you just hate to play against. They're gonna. They play hard defensively. There are some guys that will chip in as a team, but when it comes down to it, they're not gonna win.
I don't know, bro, because I don't know, man. Like I think there's a chance. I'm not saying they're going to, but I think there's a chance that
everybody else gets hurt.
No, I mean, you're really talking about them like Pascal's their leading guy. I think they could win in the next 2 years, but because right now they're acquiring those playoff scars and they're requiring them early. But to your point, like, it depends on Ja's health. That's why I was chuckling earlier, because I totally agree with you when it comes to that aspect. He's got to start tweaking his game from those like the high flying exploits, because we've all watched basketball and been part of basketball long enough. Those wild vertical leaps from your small type of guards, I think after he's in year 3 now, right? At this is the time now where you got to start treating those wild dunks like a basically like a summer ride. You got when you break out the convertible on the weekends in the summer, like every once in a while you go kamikaze. You know what I mean? Maybe like every 10th game you go kamikaze down the lane. Because Iverson was and we've seen it. Like, we've seen Steve Francis do that, Baron Davis, Kevin Johnson, AI, Westbrook. Westbrook probably lasted the longest in terms of being kamikaze and crazy, and now he's breaking down himself. He's had like 4 or 5 knee surgeries himself. But we've seen these type of guards, whether they're shorter, thicker, like a Baron Davis, smaller on the AI side, their bodies eventually start breaking down. You know what I mean? So I agree with you in that aspect. I think it's based on his health. And yeah, he had the bone bruise in his playoffs, but remember too, O'Neal, he missed about 15, at least 15 games or so with that same injury. Actually, 25 games, because I think Memphis went 20-5 while he was gone, right? And that a large part of it was because of his most of those games was because of his knee, his right knee. So we've seen this trend before, is what I'm saying. So I think they can do it, but I think it's like he's got to start changing that from now, and he has a game to do it. But he's got to start kind of changing those, flying kamikaze through the paint.
What game does he have to do it? Is Jay a suspect? What game does he have to do it? What game does he have? He relies so much on his explosiveness.
Mm-hmm. He's like an AI. He was like AI when he first came in the league.
Who?
Morant.
In what way?
AI wasn't the best shooter.
I know. The difference between Ja and AI is AI's philosophy was Kobe's philosophy is why am I going to pass you the ball when I can shoot it? So
Right.
remember, AI was a volume shooter,
Mm-hmm.
right? He just put up a lot of shots. He wasn't a great shooter, but he just shot. He just, I don't care, I'm pulling. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Ja's not like that, right? Ja is, very selective. It is, when he does shoot the three, you don't see him coming down gunning. He's not taking 50 shots a game or 40 shots a game.
He shares the
30
ball.
shots a game.
He does share the ball.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, for him, what he needs to do is really fix his shot so he can have longevity.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
That's
got.
what he needs to do.
But
I
I think he could though. I don't think it's totally broken. I don't think it's a Ben Simmons situation though.
No, not at all. Like when I look at his shot, like he, there's no extension. Like he doesn't shoot through his body, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't lock his knees and he doesn't lock his hips, and so it ends up being just all arms. And when you shoot with all arms, you're more inconsistent when you shoot all arms. Like if you watch Stephen Clay shoot, just watch them shoot while you're watching them play right now.
Yeah.
There's triple extension through their ankles, knees, and hips, right? And when you watch Josh shoot, his butt sticks out. His knees are
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
He's more of a set. It's more of a set shooter.
It's like a set shot almost.
Yeah, but because this is what I do, right? Like I when you break down shooting for guys, when you watch Josh shoot, he doesn't lock his knees, and he lock his hips, and so he relies a lot on his arms. His feet are really close together, so
it's an imbalance.
If somebody's in his corner, I'm like, yo, let's get your J going. Let's fix your mechanics. Right? It's not a big overhaul. It's just minor things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on these things, and then it's going to prolong your career, right? You can pick and choose when you want to take over. Just go to your J because you're so fast, and then you still have the athleticism. You don't have to rely on it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with his work ethic, I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's what I'm saying. I think he has that mindset in the game to to fix those things, right? Like it's like that shot. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think he's gonna, but I do think he will fix it. Like that's just me, I guess, being optimistic.
No.
You don't think he's gonna fix
LeBron,
that?
What? You're 19 like LeBron? Like, come on. Like, LeBron had a great work. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's like I've seen a lot of guys say that the shot. Jason Kidd never fixed the shot. A lot of these guys, you would think that's what would happen, right? Because they're in the NBA and it's just so simple. Like, just fix your shot. But you'd be surprised. Like, LeBron finally became more consistent with his J. That's why it's easy for him to score 30.
Right.
Because he went from making maybe 1 or 2 threes a game, if that. Now he's making like 3, 4. So it's easy, that's why it's easy for him to score 30 now.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, if he wants to shoot, he doesn't know. It's like, if he wanted to shoot before, he would have, but he can't. And that's why he did it. Right? And so it's the same thing with John. Like, you would think that, but, like Pascal Siakam, for example, right? You watch him shoot. Everybody's raves about how Raptors development. I'm like, if you look at his right leg, he collapses his right leg. Like Steph doesn't shoot like that. Clay doesn't shoot like that. You look at all the great shooters. Ray Allen never shot like that. None of them collapse. Like if you watch how he pigeon toes and collapses his right leg.
And he sticks his butt out too.
Yeah, like, and Raptors are talking about how they have great development. I'm like, his mechanics is off.
Yeah.
That's why his shot is so inconsistent, and that's why he has no confidence in it. Right? And all these guys are like, yeah, he'll work on it. And you would hope that's what would happen, but they don't, right? Because they think, just tweak your elbow above your eyes or this. It's like, your base is really important. I've literally heard, I've gotten feeds of some of these traders, like the guy that created that mat, to fool people. What's his name? I trade or something. No, what's his name? Man, this white dude I forgot his name.
Yeah, I know
but you
what
have some of
you're
these
talking
trainers like your legs don't matter. I'm like, are you what? Like you have these guys who go out there and put his no, it's not like it matters a whole. It's your base. Maybe it doesn't matter, right? And you see these guys, they don't pay attention to their base, and their shot is off. Their legs, the body doesn't line up properly, which throws everything off, right? So if Ja doesn't get with the right person to break down the shot and talk about things like that, like triple extension, blocking your ankle, knees, and hips, his shot's going to be off because shooting's about touch as well. Shooting's about touch. Some of these guys, they aim. They're hope and pray shooters. They shoot hope and pray. So,
but what is it about these? Cause I know you've mentioned this in different pods and stuff, but I'm like different episodes and stuff. But like, what is it about these guys that like? Again, you got all this money, you got access to the best trainers. Why do some of these guys, no matter how hard they work, they come back with the same shot? Then I just want to hear your breakdown of it.
It's because it's consistency. They're working on consistency.
and you know the thing too is, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know, right? And,
right.
Sometimes people don't know, and it's just really that simple. As much as they want to call themselves experts and this and that. Kevin, how hard is it to say that? All I have to do is go to the gym with, say, RJ Barrett, or let's say Shea Gilders, or even Shaded Sharp. I coach with UPLAY. All I have to do is be in the gym with Shaded Sharp, and then I can promote myself as an NBA trainer.
Right. It's so true.
That's all I can. That's all I have to do. I just have to go to the gym with him one time, rebound for him, right? Just go to Saturday gym, rebound for him, and I can start. Well, I train Shaded Sharp. I'm an NBA trainer. Like, what do these guys really know, right? What do they really know? What information are they really giving these players to help them get better, to really fine tune, really clean up their mechanics, and help them out, right? And so what happens is you have guys do drills. They just, let's go do this drill. They might do a form shooting here and there, and then like, oh, let's go to this drill. It's like, well, the analogy I use is if I give a kid, I'm a teacher, so if I give a kid 50 multiple choice questions, so let's say 100 multiple choice questions, right? Where it's like single digit multiplying by double digit. And I give them 100 questions and they get some of those wrong. What do I do? Do I keep going or do I fix it where these kids get perfect, right?
Right.
So what these guys do is if you give 100 questions, they might get, let's say, 10 or 15 wrong, but they'll keep going, giving them the same multiplication questions instead of stopping and saying, you got some wrong. You shouldn't be getting anything wrong. Let's fix this, right? And what happens is guys just keep doing drills. Okay, let's do a shooting drill, right? And it's like, well, if you do it enough, you can get better. Well, no, you have to correct stuff. There has to be minor corrections somewhere in order for it to get better, because it goes back to the same, if you're doing the same thing and expecting different results, definition of insanity. So you have to tweak. At some point, you have to tweak something in your shot. You have to change something in your shot to make sure that it becomes more consistent, right? And it could go from a simple thing as your training routine. You have to have a routine. If you have a routine is consistent. You have the same routine over and over. That builds consistency, right? And so the same routine, the same mindset, the same approach to your shooting. Once you've had, you clean up your mechanics, and then you build from there, and that's how your shot becomes consistent. Hopefully, you have the right with the right mechanics. So a lot of these guys, they go to drills, right, instead of breaking down their shot. Again, like a math equation, right? If you're doing algebra, at some point along, you're getting the variables wrong. So you have to break down the equation, and go back and see, where am I getting this wrong? And a lot of these guys don't do that. They just go to the gym and start doing drills. Let's shoot a lot. Guys get frustrated, and they don't. And as a player, we all play this game. When you're confident in your shot. Mm-hmm. When you feel your shots out and when your shots off, right?
Absolutely.
But that's what it comes down to. It's not so much about the drills. It's about really breaking on your shot and your mechanic. And when I train kids, and I know they can't do it, but I try to get them to understand that you have to master something. Like Kyrie is a master of ball handling, right? Mm-hmm. He mastered that. He's a master. He's mastered finishing, right? Like Steph Curry's master of ball handling.
as well as his footwork.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to master something, and mastering it means that you have to break it down to the smallest of details and then build it back up and just keep refining it and making sure it's perfect. And guys don't do that, right? And that's how guys don't approach things like that. They just want, let's do drills, right? Let's do this drill. This looks like a cool drill, right? But then you watch them do the drills, and it's like, yo, his foot's pointing here, his knees are collapsing, like there's so much stuff wrong with it, but you know, it's a cool drill, it looked good, right? It's like, no, bro, like their foundation in their shot is off, and that's why when they get to the games, right, and they can't do it because they have no confidence in their game, because they know that Jay is inconsistent, they can't trust it, and so you see guys struggle, and it just baffles me, all these guys like you that get to the NBA, and you think it's just, bro, all you got to do, treat it like your job, like, you know, just treat it like a 9 to 5. Just make sure you're in the gym. I need to fix this. I'm going to work on this every day. And just treat it like a job, right? And some of these guys don't do that, right? Because, again, you get caught up in the lifestyle, right? Like, you know, it's easy. The bubble. Think about the bubble. Remember how many guys were good when they came out of that four-month break and they had nowhere to go? So the only thing they could do was work on their game.
Work on their game, yeah.
Yeah. And all these guys came out good. Right? Like, you're like, where did this guy come from? Right?
He probably
like that guy from India.
He trained for 4 months. There was no clubs to go to.
Exactly. Right? No distraction. Right? You know, so, and that's what it comes down to. The ones that are disciplined, just constantly are looking to perfect their craft will get better. But you also need the right information to get better, right? You need to have, you know, you need to be working smart as well, instead of just working hard. And sometimes guys will work hard, but they're not necessarily working smart. Right, so it's a combination of all that. It comes down to just information, like anything else. If you have the information, and you know the right information, then you know you'll fix your shot and get better.
Now, I'll just have two more questions, and then we'll be out of here. So you know, obviously I totally forgot this, but the draft lottery was last night. You know, as of this recording, and Orlando got the number 1 pick. While I'm not going to go through the whole checklist of, you know, mock drafts and everything else, excuse me, I'm just staying with Orlando. If you guys are the GM right now, or you basically were responsible for making this number 1 pick, who are you guys drafted with that number 1 pick?
Randall, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would go with Jabari Smith Jr. if I was him, right? You know,
I agree with you 100% as well.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think you know, the guys that I see that are in that, I'm not a fan of Chet. I know he has kind of that, you know, remember when Porzingis first came in the league, he has that kind of vibe of when, but yeah. I just don't see him sustaining any type of relevance. You know, and that could be totally wrong, and you could throw this back in my face. I just don't see. I think he'll be a decent player. I just don't see him being as impactful as Jabari.
You know, it's funny, Randall. Chet looks graceful, but like a graceful baby giraffe. That's what I feel like when I watch him play.
Porzingis was too. Porzingis was like that when he came in, but he has more intangibles. Like he does have, like, he could play D. He has he has some really good intangibles that I don't think he was able to display on the college level that I think will translate better. I'm just interested. The thing that I'm more, let's say, concerned, but it's more his speed, right, on offense. I don't know if he's that dynamic as a KD to get his shot off, and he doesn't have to handle that KD does that either. I think defensively he can hold his own a little bit. I don't know physically if he'll be able to. He's gotten stronger, and I think he'll get stronger. But I just don't see. I think he'll do all right. I just don't see him being a big difference maker. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I like Jabari as well. I like a guy that's 6'10" that can basically score the way he does, and I think he'll fit right in with you know, the fact that he's 6'10". He's not what's his face Anthony. He's not Cole Anthony, and he's not Suggs, right?
Yeah.
And he's also not Bamba and Isaac. So if you get open, he would be another long, lanky Bamba or Isaac, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that Jabari you're gonna be able to use it in different ways. You could be like a better version of Glenn Big Dog, like Robinson. This guy can square you up, take you off the dribble, they can bring the ball up. And this thing with Chet, he's just gonna get his chest cave in. Right? He's just gonna start body.
Yeah.
So like I watched Gonzaga, and I'm like, he doesn't have that. There's certain guys when the game you need to take over the game, they take it over. And he wasn't that guy for Gonzaga. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, so if he's not built like that, like KD, where I'm going to take it over and just go into my arsenal, then yeah, he's going to be a long guy, like he shoot the three and maybe block shots.
Well, hold on.
But he'll get exposed in the playoffs.
Was KD doing that at Texas?
Oh yeah, he was.
Oh,
KD was doing that at Texas.
KD was scoring, running up. KD was catch and shoot. ISO running off screens. KD would come off multiple screens like step, catch and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Like KD was scoring in all kinds of ways.
Yep.
He was giving you buckets in any way you wanted.
Yep.
He could bring it. He could ISO you. He could come off moving. You could set screens for him. He could come off the move. Like he was scoring in so many different ways.
He really was. He really was. What did he average?
Oh yeah.
I think he averaged like 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
At least something like that. He was crazy at Texas.
He was scoring in different ways. Yeah, he was scoring in different ways.
You know what Chet reminds me of? Like when I look at his body, because everybody's 7 foot, 7'2" guy, whatever. You're thinking, okay, of course he's gonna be in the NBA, all that stuff, right? Yes, we know he's skinny, but I was always taught when you have wide shoulders, you have the ability to put on weight and naturally get stronger, right? He's got such a narrow frame. It kind of reminds me of, and I mean, this guy was a thicker guy, but he had that narrow frame like Hashim Thabit. When Hashim Thabit was at UConn, he had like 7'2", whatever, however tall he was. But I thought he didn't have a wide frame. I thought his shoulders were like narrow, and I'm like, that's weird for a guy that big. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know how long. Like, that's not a good sign. I mean, there was a whole other reasons why he didn't make it. But I just didn't like his disposition being that tall. You know what I mean? And for somebody like Chet, I look at him and I don't see a guy that's gonna put on a lot of weight. Which again, if you're KD or whatever, that's kind of fine. But he doesn't have that KD speed. Well, KD's special because he's a 7'2" guard. Like this is why I was calling. And he can handle. And he can handle. Like Chet can handle a little bit, but Chet again is like he has the gracefulness of a giraffe. Where it's like it's loping and it's like, you know what I mean? Like he's unfolding every step he takes. And it's, you know what I mean? So it's like that makes me nervous. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, so when I look at that based on his speed, he's probably going to be playing a bigger position. And I'm like, okay, like he'll hit the shot, like he'll hit open shots, but I'm like anything off the dribble, I'm like he's not going to be able to bang anybody out. Like I don't know. Like that to me is when I see him makes me nervous.
The thing about Chet also, he might like Bobo. I saw Bobo in high school. Like Bobo was shooting three step back.
Right. Yes.
Like the guy gets to the NBA, he's buried in the bench. Like those kind of guys, tell you man, the game's too physical. He's gonna start getting bodied. Right? You have to just start going through his chest. Right? Those 6'10", 6'11" guys just gonna start bodying him. Into his chest, take him off the dribble. So I don't know. I would go number one. I would go with Jabari. Jabari fitted with the team.
Okay.
And I would go with Jabari.
I didn't get a chance to really watch Jabari, to be honest, this season. So I'm going to take, at least at this time, I'm going to definitely take the two of you guys' words for it. So this is why my answer was Paulo, because I haven't really watched Jabari. But I was thinking, like, I watched a lot of Duke games this year, and I liked his game, and I think the fit with him at Orlando would be pretty good. I don't like I think if he for these guys it's going to depend on where they go. I think Chet's going to go to OKC because they're just in whole rebuilding and reloading phase. So they'll take on projects for as long as they want right now because they got so many picks for the next like 5 to 10 years it seems like. So I see that. I don't see Chet falling lower than second. But I think with Jabari and with Paulo, I think it depends on like where they go, what their success is going to be. I don't know. Like I'm nervous about Paulo going to Houston because I think they got to get rid of like. I mean, and they're a young team too, but they got to get rid of like Porter or one of those guys. Like it's most likely going to be Porter Jr. because I feel like I don't know. I just have this like when Yao was coming to Houston with Steve Francis and Mobley and they were just ignoring Yao for a while until they had to start getting rid of those guys and Yao was the guy. Like I kind of get that sense with Houston to me. Like even though I think Jalen Green is going to be a really good player. Right now, that combination of him and Porter, I'm just like I don't know if I want like a Jabari or Apollo going there. So I'm like they're gonna have to figure that out. But I like Paulo. I don't know how you guys feel about his game, but Bonchero, he impressed me when I was watching him play like in most of the games I saw this year.
Jabari is smoother than
He's smoother.
Jabari is smoother.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't watched Jabari, so I only saw the one tournament game where he didn't play well. That's the only game I saw him play.
Yeah, Jabari's a way smoother than him.
Okay.
And bigger.
Yeah.
Taller or bigger?
Bigger.
Bigger. Okay. All right. Now, like I said, I'll take you guys' word for it on that. Last question: Who were your choices to represent the East and the West of the NBA Finals?
Oof. I mean, I definitely see Golden State. I can see Golden State and Boston. To be honest, I think Miami is. It all depends on Larry and Larry's health.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be playing a lot this series, man.
If he's not a good at health, then it's going to be tough. They need all guns. Like you need all guns firing. And all, yeah.
I don't know. Like, and with him, that hamstring injury is like, that's a nagging. I don't feel like that's going to be really healed until the off season when you can actually take that break to like really get it healthy. You know what I mean? Like for him to get really healthy, he's probably going to have to miss. I mean, I don't know what the severity of his hamstring injury is, but I don't think he's coming back tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Who's that?
Larry.
Smart? Oh, Larry?
Yeah.
But that guy Vincent is playing good. That guy Vincent's playing really good.
Yeah.
I think the same thing for Boston with Smart. If Smart's there in Boston, I want to say Boston as well because Boston and Golden State. Just because I'm a Spurs are my team. Popovich, I love Popovich, and Ime is trying to hit Popovich, and he's making the adjustments and he's getting these guys to play and compete. So I would, if he's been with Popovich for 10 years, he's going to start bringing some of Popovich's coaching style and just being under his wing. You learn, you experience so many things, and you've been through so many situations that okay, I'm going to do this in this situation. You anticipate certain things happening. And you're prepared for it. So I'm going to go Boston. I'm assuming that Smart's going to get healthy. I'm going to go Boston and Golden State.
Yeah, and it looks like I think we're all in agreement because I have the Celtics and the Warriors too. The one thing that worries me about Golden State though is they have this ability sometimes, and it's not this year. It's been pretty much their whole culture. Is they have the ability sometimes to take their foot off their gas with their turnovers. You know what I mean? And this year they got sometimes they get some head scratching play. You know what I mean? Overall, like the way they let Memphis come back and play hard them like after that Ja injury, like including when they're at one point they're getting blown up by 55 points in Game 5. Like it worries me. You know what I mean? Like and tonight they're handling Dallas and that's fine, but like Dallas missed a lot of open threes. You know what I mean? Like they better hope that still continues because you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like I don't totally trust them the same way I did other years, even though I love them and I want to see them make the finals. But Luka and you got a perimeter flamethrowers right now with Brunson and Dinwiddie. They make me nervous. You know what I mean? They make me nervous. I have them in the Celtics. It's funny like with the Heat. I swear, I don't know if you guys remember the Bears back in like the early mid 2000s, where like every time they were a good team and they made the playoffs, nobody really believed them. Like they could have the best record in the NFL or like the NFC, and you're just like, I remember there was this one year where like every
Urlacher is that the
I think Urlacher was there, yeah. But there was one year I think they made the Super Bowl. There was one year Randall almost every game came down to like a fluke play and they won. and it was like they had like they were like 13-3, and then oh, sorry, it wasn't a Super Bowl year. And then I remember they had home field advantage. You know, they had the bye week, and then the very first playoff game they went and lost. And everybody, all the commentators, all the analysts, everybody was like, the Bears ain't gonna win. You know what I mean? And I feel like even though Miami is kind of like proving us wrong a little bit, even though they're the number one seed, I still feel like, you know, and I guess it's kind of to our points, I kind of feel like we don't believe they're going to make the final, even though they won last night. And, you know, Butler played great again. You know, like, I'm kind of like, yeah, Smart didn't play. Horford didn't play. You know, once them guys get back, I feel like Boston has too much firepower, especially if, you know, Tatum and Brown are balling. Like, they're going to, I just figure, like, Miami doesn't have the firepower to deal with them. But, again, the way Butler's been played, if he continues to play the way he played in game one, especially, it's going to be tough. But I want to see the Celtics and the Warriors. I think the NBA would rather see that. You know, big market in the Bay Area, you know, historical franchise in Boston. Like, I think it would make for a great series as well. And I think
could you see Hero taking that next step?
Not this season. I don't know. You know what it is with Hero though, Randall? It's kind of the same analogy with like what I'm making about Miami. It's like, I know he's a good player, he's a good scorer, and he's in that culture. He plays tougher than, you know, like I think he would have been if he was on another franchise. But there's just something about Hero where I'm just like, I'm not sold on this guy being the next cornerstone or star of this team. I'm not sold.
Oh, I'm not either. I was just playing devil's advocate.
Okay.
So I'm with you. Trust me, I'm not a huge Hero fan.
Yeah, like I think he's good, but
he looks great in his individual workouts. Like when he posts his stuff, looks like he can't miss. But in the games, this guy ain't hitting nothing. I'm like, damn.
But it goes back.
It's good.
O'Neal, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about training and all that. And I was saying, like, you can, in theory, right? You can go in a gym and teach someone like the fundamentals of shooting really comes down to, you know, are you tracking the ball properly with your elbow? Are you releasing all that? Yeah. And you have balance, right? Now, yeah, you're right. It's more than that, and you can go in a gym with a janky, like you said, like Siakam with kind of your both knees bent in, and you can probably hit 10 out of 10 threes if you're it's consistency with a shitty form, right? But what screws everyone's shot up is, like you said, you need to have all the elements in play to be able to shoot in all types of circumstances, not just standing still when no one guarding you, right? Are you able to dribble with the ball and be balanced enough with, you know, and shoot? Are you able to shoot, you know, off of a pass? Are you able to, you know, take a step back and shoot? Those are all intangibles that, you know, you have to add into your game in a live game. And that's where I think, like, it doesn't translate all the time for players. So, yeah, these players look, even Shaedon Sharp, I'll be honest, like, I've seen him play too. I've seen him play live. Great player. I've seen Barrett play, and I've seen all their flaws, right? And, yeah, they're great. But in workouts, you look at them, but, hey, at the next level, is he going to be able to have that handle to kind of get at – he's not going to be – you know, everyone's athletic in the league, right? Is he going to really get to the hoop at will? Maybe. I don't know. But he's got to utilize that shot more. Is he going to be consistent with it? You don't know. He could be an all-star like Ray Allen, or he could be clunking, and develop, right? So,
right, I agree. I like Hero. Like I said, he looks. You know, I love him in his individual those mixtape workouts that he puts. But I get excited and that shows up and he's flopping. I'm like, come on, man, you look good, bro. But yeah, I don't know.
The Instagram clips.
You
fall in love with the Instagram clips.
Yeah, it's just Butler and everybody else. So Butler needs more help.
What happened to Bam?
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, at least. What happened to Bam?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, here's what I think it is. Right, I think it goes back to consistency and the routine and stuff like that. Like you've seen guys, because to be at a high level, the mental focus that is needed is great, because it's something you have to bring every time. Does that make sense? And so some of these guys, they might have it for a year, like have a really good year, but to consistently bring that takes a mental toll, right? Because there's a certain level of focus that you need to have in your routines, your training, getting shots up. And it could have been also a contract here. Now the guys play great. And we're looking at a new contract, right? So
it's interesting you say that because Bam was he did get re-upped after last season.
Yep. Oh, I know. I know. Okay. So there you go. So you look at when you see a guy playing every time. This is my thing.
Or not last season. Right? After the bubble. After they made the finals
the
on the bubble, and they weren't going to sign Giannis. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when these guys come out of nowhere. I'm like, it's a contract year, because that's exactly what happened. They come out of nowhere, have a great year, like, oh my God, and then I'm good. I made it to my second contract.
Yeah. He played well last year. Like, he was an all-star last year. Bam, I believe, yeah. And then, I don't know what happened after that. It's like this year, it's like, go ahead.
You got to be consistent, Calvin. That's why I love guys like I love Kobe and Jordan, right? Because their approach to the game is maniacal, but it has to be that way so that they can be great all the time,
right?
And bring that high level of scoring and play all the time. And so, a lot of guys are built like that. But for me, that's what it comes down to. It's your mental approach. Because it's hard, man. It's hard to get in the gym every day and to have that level of focus where you're locked, trying to get locked in and accomplish and making sure your game's tight. Your game's going to be consistent.
It's funny because you're saying the highest of levels, but I would even go as high as Kobe and Mike. I'm even thinking guys like Ray Allen, who was a maniacal bastard himself. You know what I mean? He wasn't as great as those two guys, but I mean, that guy, like his routine was, if you ever read his stories, like he was insane. His work ethic was insane. Even when he got to Miami, like some of the stuff he would do, he had LeBron and them doing extra work.
Yeah.
So it's so even guys like him, it's like to be you're right. There has to be some sense of like OCD maniacalness to whether it's ferocious like Kobe or LeBron or understated like Ray Allen, but like you have to be on top of it every day. That's how you extend your career too.
Yep.
Right. So I agree. But we can wrap this up now, fellas. Thank you for hopping on the Ave as always. We definitely probably should do this in the finals at some point, especially if Boston and the Celtics make it, and do like I would like. I'll figure it out. But maybe even during the game, like the fourth quarter is like to do like a live or something. Well, I'll figure it out. I think that'll be interesting. But all right, fellas. But thank you once again as always, man.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Thank you for checking out the latest edition of the Ave Podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in, and thanks to O'Neal Kamaka and Randall Walter for coming on today and breaking down these playoff topics. I'm going to be back with a new episode next week. More importantly, though, I have a new episode of My Story that'll be out on May the 25th, a Wednesday, featuring high school All-Canadian women's basketball player Cheyenne Rowe as she breaks down her journey from the very beginnings of her career to nailing down a scholarship at James Madison University. Please, 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 and I emphasize, please give that a listen. Don't play around with that. And make sure you check out SouthSharav.com for the catalog and hit the like and favorite buttons wherever you listen to podcasts, all right? For Randall Walter and O'Neal Kamaka, this is Cal C, and you just tuned into the Ave Podcast on South Sharav Radio. Woo, my voice is still recovering, boy. All right, till next week. Peace. We out. Have a great long weekend for all the Canadians out there.